What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So we just had the Game Awards last night. We found out the game that won Game of the Year, but the big thing a lot of people tuned in for were some big announcements, as we talked about yesterday. And there were some pretty large announcements there, and there were also quite a few smaller announcements. And I think we'll go over some of the larger announcements here because, wow, the internet really caught on fire when a certain character was revealed for Smash, and another series is kind of coming back, getting a bit of a revival for the Xbox. Also, we're going to talk about the initial sales reports for the MPDs that show that the Switch dominated November, but there are still some analysts who are a bit disappointed with the results. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure that like button helps out a ton, and if brand new here, hit the red subscribe button down below, and we're going to start today with Cyberpunk 2077. The expectations for this game were through the roof, super high, but the expectations around the sales were also extremely high. Some analysts were predicting 30 million or so copies to sell in just the first few months of this game being out. Now, that might have been very optimistic, but we already have some data around just the pre-order numbers, and they're pretty serious. Check this out here. Daniel Med did some quick math for us to help out as well, saying 8 million pre-orders for Cyberpunk 2077. And we do have a split of 41% on console, 59% on PC, meaning that about 4.72 million were on PC, and then the console had 3.28 million. This will be the biggest day one launch ever for a PC version of the game, beating World of Warcraft Shadowlands that had 3.7 million sold. And yeah, that is huge, especially if you think about this for CD Projekt Red, who would technically be considered, I guess, an indie company, right? Indie developer, then technically, that's really impressive. And I would expect this to sell quite a few over the holiday season that we're currently in. I see everyone playing this game right now. There's a ton of conversation online. So this is going to sell well. Here's hoping they get more and more patches out there to fix up any bugs. And I'm looking forward to the next generation patches that we get, hopefully in the first half of next year, so we can see what they can get out of the Xbox Series X and the PS5 specifically without having to use backwards compatibility to play the game. Also, we had a bit of an issue with the Switch update 11.0.0. It had a problem with the GameCube controller, specifically the analog stick dead zones. This was pointed out before by people in the Smash community, where it appeared that the dead zones were affected so much that tilt and smash attacks were actually different or even harder to pull off depending on which one you were trying to do. But a new update is now live, 11.0.1, and it appears to fix that issue. We can go over here to Oatmeal Dome, who pointed this out, saying version 11.0.1 was just released, fixed some games not playing correctly. There are no real they didn't really specify which games exactly were fixed there, but also fixed a bug which caused some TVs to show no image on the screen, and then fixed a problem which changed how the analog and C-sticks respond on a GameCube controller. So this is obviously a reaction patch. It was one that this wasn't supposed to happen with 11.0.0, where, again, you have a large update like this. They introduced a little icon for the Nintendo Switch Online, and certainly, I'm sure, moved around quite a bit of code behind the scenes. It seemed that, for whatever reason, the GameCube controller's analog stick dead zone was affected, and they pushed this patch out very quickly to fix it. So at least that's good to see, because, like I said, I saw a lot of videos popping up and messages on different forums talking about how Smash just all of a sudden felt different. That should hopefully fix it for him. Oh, and something that was kind of lost in the shuffle last night with the Game Awards, again, a lot of stuff all over the place with awards being given out, games, all of this, was Monster Hunter Rise getting a demo next month. We can see this tweet here just pointing out Monster Hunter Rise demo coming January 2021. When they showed the trailer, it seemed like, okay, we're gonna show a little more off, and then at the bottom, at the end of it, there was like this little text that was like, oh yeah, demo is coming next month. And it's good to see, because the demos themselves will help to sell games like this, but I still think most people are just ready for this game. That's why they showed it, and I was like, I mean, I'm already sold on Monster Hunter Rise. It looks good from what they were showing, and I do think this is a game that I'm hoping Capcom kind of develops with that a Switch revision in mind as well, because this is one that certainly could use just a little bit of a bump in power for a more stable frame rate overall. But yeah, really cool to see that demo coming. It was in the the documents that came out from the Capcom leak or the Capcom hack, that was something mentioned, so this was also expected, but now we know it's coming next month. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. We're gonna start right away with the Game Awards. There was a lot of stuff here. I'm gonna go over quite a bit of it, but there will be some stuff that I just don't have time to go over, so I'll link you to some of the pages down in the sources that just go through every single announcement. There were different things talking about expansions, updates on games, release dates, all kinds of stuff. But the big one, the thing that started it all off, and it felt like it broke Twitter once again. Steve from Minecraft in Smash broke Twitter. But how about Sephiroth in Smash? This was, by the way, a tremendous trailer. Like, this was done so well. Sakurai's obviously a fan of Advent Children. There were some key moments pulled from that movie with different scenes, and I overall love the introduction of Sephiroth because they immediately made Sephiroth look super powerful, taking on everyone, splitting the world basically in half there. It was really cool to see, and they of course have the fight between Cloud and Sephiroth. But the best moment was when it looked like Sephiroth had just stabbed Mario. I like the little fake out there. Sakurai likes to have fun with this, and it looks like next week on the 17th, we will have a Sakurai Presents for Sephiroth, where he will show us how he can use 2 controllers at the same time and have Sephiroth show off all the moves. Really, really cool stuff there to see that. And then the other really, really big announcement here had to be Perfect Dark getting a reboot. No, it's not gonna be like a story told in the Perfect Dark universe, because that's kind of what the rumor mill was spitting out there for a little while. No, this appears that the initiative was formed and they said, we'll take on Perfect Dark, and it looks like it's gonna be, from what we can tell right now at the CG trailer, taking Joanna Dark and just rebooting the whole thing. And that was great to see that at the end, because it seemed like the camera the whole time was searching for something. And then at the end, you see Joanna Dark standing there, a classic pose with the pistol and all of this. And then we get the title card for Perfect Dark. Really, really well done. I like what I'm seeing here. And while this game is certainly a ways off, 2 years minimum till we even find out a release date, the initiative said it's in early development still, it is exciting stuff to see that Microsoft is leaning into some of their older IPs and bring them up to like current times. Fable getting its reboot, Perfect Dark getting its reboot, Battletoads, while that didn't go over as well, they still tried. So I'm still hopeful for Banjo-Kazooie, but wow, how cool was it to see Perfect Dark get its reboot in this really stylish fashion with that trailer. We also saw Mass Effect, kinda, and we saw Dragon Age as well. Dragon Age was basically what I thought it would be. It would have like a CG trailer, no gameplay, no release date. They had the title of it, just Dragon Age. I guess we'll find out more about this game next year. Maybe EA will have their EA Play and we'll see some of it then. But we did find out that Mass Effect is indeed not dead. They just said Mass Effect will continue. But we already knew about that. Technically, they just showed us, again, a CG trailer just to kind of reinforce the idea that it's not going away. So that, I mean, is good after the departures from BioWare. It's at least good to see both of those games represented there. And here's hoping it's not like Mass Effect Andromeda 2 or something. And then we did have Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection. That's coming out February 25th. Completely expected after we had those Capcom leaks about Project Guillotine and then the trademark renewal. So good to see that ended up working out there. Microsoft Flight Simulator is going to the Xbox Series X. That will be happening next summer, 2021. And then we have Back 4 Blood, which appears to be a Left 4 Dead spiritual successor. So that was great to see. Ark 2, which I don't really have a lot of a big opinion around Ark, but it was interesting because they brought in Vin Diesel for the trailer for Ark 2. So I guess we'll find out more about that. And they also showed an animated series that is coming. And then we did have a new Among Us map, which that was pretty cool to see. I know a lot of Among Us fans have been waiting for a new map, and it's like this big airship. So it's cool to see them do some unique things with that. We did have Master Chief going to Fortnite. That was part of a leak that we had seen previously next to Kratos, but they did also say that Blood Gulch will be heading to Fortnite. So that's kind of a cool announcement there. They did show off an Evil Dead game, which was a bit surprising to see that, but it was kind of cool. Then we had the Callisto Protocol, which this appears to be like, again, another spiritual successor, this time to Dead Space. So Dead Space fans might want to keep an eye on this one. We, again, saw a CG trailer, but at least kind of set the tone for what's supposed to be a very scary game. And we also got a release date for Returnal. That's the game from House Marquee for the PlayStation 5. It's a roguelike action game, and that's coming out March 19th. And then to cap everything off, we did have Microsoft announce several Game Pass editions that will be coming in the first half of next year, with most of them being in January, and that being Yakuza 3 Remastered, 4 Remastered, 5 Remastered, and then 6. 3, 4, and 5 appear to be coming in January, whereas 6 will fall a little further out till March. And then to close out the night, the Game of the Year winner was indeed The Last of Us Part 2. Kind of expected, I'll admit. I was pulling for Hades there at the end. I thought that would have been a really cool story to see an indie game rise up and take out all these much larger games around it. But yeah, there we go. Last of Us Part 2 took home the big prize at the end there. You know what? The Game Awards itself wasn't bad. It just felt long. That's the biggest thing. And there seemed like more commercials, although at least I will say this, all the commercials were related to video games. It wasn't some weird like product placement thing or something just thrown in there. So there was at least some thought placed around the advertising that they had, but I think that's the biggest thing they should really work on, is just making it so that the entire thing doesn't feel like it's 10 hours. It was about 3.5 hours that I was streaming, and that felt like a while. So that's the only thing, is they have these down moments. I don't know if Perfect Dark and Sephiroth had to be like almost right next to each other. I know they want to put them out in front so that they get the largest amount of eyes on it, because people will tune out as we get further in. But still, maybe have one of those in the middle, maybe have Sephiroth to kick things off, then you have Perfect Dark in the middle, and then we had Mass Effect at the end with some of the other mid-announcements kind of sprinkled in. But otherwise, it was a pretty fun night. Next up, let's talk about the NPD report for November, because we did get a bit of an early look at the #1 console for November. Remember, this includes the Xbox launch for the Series S and the Series X, and the PlayStation 5 launch in the US, and it turns out it was indeed the Nintendo Switch that sold the most units in the US. Now, we need to find out more about dollar sales, because remember, the PS5 and the Series X are just more than the Switch, so there is a chance that one of those two systems, like the PS5, could have brought in more money, but the Nintendo Switch did sell the most units overall. If we go over here to Business Wire, we can see the excerpt here. According to the NPD Group, which tracks video game sales, the combined sales of the Nintendo Switch and Nintendo Switch Lite systems hit over 1.35 million units in the US in the month of November, which included Thanksgiving and the key shopping day of Black Friday. With these strong sales, Nintendo Switch achieved another milestone as the best-selling video game console in the US for a record-breaking 24 consecutive months. Now, David Gibson did point something interesting out here, saying, "Perhaps I am the only one to say it, but 1.35 million Switch in November is disappointing, as it's 5% down year over year, yet demand is way higher. It looked like supply had improved, but now looks like it hasn't hit retail." And remember, Nintendo was working to improve their overall supply chain. They were getting different factories set up for this. It doesn't appear, as David is saying here, that has actually gone through for some of these NPD reports, and that could be more so targeting right now as we get through the holidays. November was a big month for all the consoles, obviously, and they were all selling through. But it seems like Nintendo wanted to do whatever they could to also get Switch units back on store shelves for December. I mean, we're finishing up, and we're gonna get into March, and that'll have finished up 4 years with the Switch, and the thing is still this hard to get and selling out. Now, I also want to point out, since the Xbox and the PlayStation 5 all sold out completely, this tells us that they did not ship more than 1.35 million units to the US, and that's what happens when you have a worldwide release. You're gonna spread yourself thin in certain regions, or just all regions really, because you can only ship out so many Xbox Series S, X, PlayStation 5 systems to each region, and it seems like in this case, that made it so that the Switch selling 1.35 million units was the #1 system. We'll find out a bit more information today as the NPD full report comes out. We'll find out where things like Age of Calamity ranked as an example, and others. But yeah, the Switch still rolling along. I think it'll probably take December as well. And you know what? Going forward, if Nintendo does announce that revision, let's say in March or April, I think they're going to keep this 24-month streak alive for quite a while. In our last bit of news, while we're on the topic of sales, we'll finish up this week with the Famitsu Sales charts. This does tell us the overall sales in Japan week to week with hard numbers, and we can see where the stock is right now for the PS5 and the Xbox Series systems in Japan. Remember, both of those currently have lotteries going on just to have a chance to buy one of these systems there, but let's go over to the top 10 for games, where we can see Momotaro is still up there at number 1. It's pretty much just been up there since it released at number 1. 115,884 units there. Then we have Derby Stallion at 2, Animal Crossing New Horizons at 3, which that, by the way, is still continuing to roll. It's past 6 million units, no problem, and will probably continue to pick up sales throughout the holidays. And then we have Ryza 2 debuting on the PS4, 43,987. Ring Fit Adventure there at 5. Then we have Ryza 2 on the Switch, 30,643. Dragon Quest 11S, which, there you go, Square's trying to sell the game for like the third time to everyone, 28,612. Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity down to number 8 right now. Mario Kart Deluxe 9, and then we have Densha debuting at number 10. Moving over to hardware, the Nintendo Switch at the top, 204,000 units. Yes, it is still continuing to roll along there in Japan despite having so much stock. Like I said, 1.35 million available over in the US, and then also still doing weeks like these is pretty impressive for the Switch there. It's starting to roll up to 20 million units. I mean, it's at 16.5, but we see these large weeks right here with 200,000. That's gonna come up pretty quick, I would say. The PS5, 11,893, and then we have the PS4, 3,055. We can just see the stock issues right away with these, right? Like the PS5 and the Xbox Series systems are just impossible to find just about. Like we see the Xbox Series at 1,622, the 3DS at 490, and then the Xbox One, for some reason 28 people bought the Xbox One. I almost wonder if just different stores are selling them for next to nothing just to get them off the shelves now. But yeah, another week in Japan, another week that the Switch is just rolling along. The PS5 and the Series X and S probably won't have solid stock in Japan until honestly like February maybe. I mean, they will have some that comes in, but it's gonna be tough for people in Japan right now trying to get those next generation systems. They will probably be doing those lotteries for quite a while, whereas Nintendo seems pretty serious about ramping up production. And then again, if we roll into next year with a Switch revision coming out, it's gonna be a whole other section of sales here for the Switch. The Switch is just on fire right now, and that 100 million mark is coming up pretty quick. Like I said, this will be Nintendo's best-selling home console of all time. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Jason saying, I only care about Elden Ring. Now, when I was watching the Game Awards, I noticed that Elden Ring started to trend on Twitter, probably because a lot of people were hoping it would be there, and then the Game Awards ended, and then the overall trends on Twitter for Elden Ring just spiked. So many people started tweeting, asking where it was, and you know what? I'm a little concerned about this game right now, not because of development, nothing like that. I'm getting concerned because it feels like the hype is starting to get to that level where it may not be able to reach. It's getting this mystique around it, and it reminds me of what we just went through with Cyberpunk, whereas that released, was sitting at like a 90 or 91 on Metacritic, and everyone's just like, oh, that's it? I'm a little concerned that people are looking at Elden Ring as being that massive achievement in kind of the Souls series, and if it comes out and it's like good, but it's not amazing, that could be a problem just from the amount of hype being built up. But here's hoping it gets shown off soon, this year coming up, I would assume, right? And then we see a really good game and everything just goes over smoothly. So we'll find out. And ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit the like button, really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. Well, there's the Game Awards itself. What do you think about the show overall? Because it looks like Jeff Keighley is legitimately looking for feedback at all times around how he can make it better. So make sure you let him know on Twitter respectfully, and then leave comments about your opinion on the show. And what was your favorite announcement at the show? Sephiroth was pretty cool in Smash, but I have to say, as an old school Perfect Dark fan, it was pretty awesome seeing that logo flash up right at the end, wasn't it? Thanks guys for watching. Have a great weekend. I'll see you back here Monday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern time for Newswave.